Welcome to Inside Politics. We have a special election edition here at the Calgary Herald for the federal election, which comes on Monday. I'm joined here by Braid of the Calgary Herald. Don, let's go through the Calgary ridings very quickly. There's 10 ridings up for play here. This is obviously Conservative heartland. All 8 seats went to the federal Conservatives and by massive margins in the 2012 federal election campaign. But there's a sense that maybe some of these ridings are at play this time around. Let's go through them all really quickly and get your assessment. First off, I think we agree that there's 3 ridings that are not going anywhere, and those are all held by federal Conservative cabinet ministers. Calgary Heritage, which is Stephen Harper's riding, Calgary Nose Hill, which is Michelle Rempel's riding, and Calgary Midnapore, which is Defence Minister Jason Kenney's riding. You don't see any of these ones moving anywhere.
Well, as you said, for those to go, the 4 horsemen would have to ride down from Banff with Justin Trudeau aboard. It's not. It can happen in those ridings. It's almost impossible to imagine happening.
Okay, so there's 2 new seats in the city, up in the northwest and in the deep southeast, both fast-growing areas. Let's talk a little bit about the northwest. In Rocky Ridge, Pat Kelly, who's the Conservative candidate, he's a mortgage broker. He's running against Liberal broadcaster, former broadcaster Nirmala Naidu. How do you see that playing out?
Well, Nirmala is well known and running a good campaign, but we should recall that area, as the Conservatives rejected Lee Richardson, a former MP for Calgary Centre, who ran for the nomination there, and rejected him quite soundly because they really wanted a very Conservative candidate in that riding. That is a suburban riding. The base in there is quite Conservative. I can't see the Liberals winning that riding.
I agree. Now let's go down to the deep south and the southeast riding. In Calgary Shepherd, we have the Conservatives' Tom Commish. He is a former assistant to Jason Kenney at one point, as well as Ted Morton, the former finance minister of the province. He's running in that riding against 2 candidates who are maybe not as well known as he is, Jerry James and Danny Allard for the NDP. Do you see any upsets here?
No, it's interesting how the political parties sort of have this cell division thing after a while. The minister splits off a former aide and everything. The Liberals do that too. But I can't see any big change down there, no.
Okay, so the riding to watch, I think we're in both agreement, is Calgary Centre. Poll for the Calgary Herald and Post Media showed this week that it's a dead heat between Joan Crockett of the Conservatives and Kent Hare, the former Liberal MLA running for the Liberals. What do you see happening here?
I don't know. I would have thought by now that Kent Hare would have been considerably ahead. The problem for Hare, as it was in the last election in the by-election that Joan Crockett won in 2014, the problem is the split. The NDP candidate still has 19% of the vote there, and he's got roughly 35. If the NDP wasn't around, he'd be a shoo-in. But I'm not sure. I think it's kind of a toss-up, and I have to say that if they don't win that, if the Liberals don't win that riding, I'm not sure they can win anything else.
3 key points to consider, I think, in this riding. Number 1 is Joan Crockett barely won this riding in a by-election a little more than a year ago, beating the Liberals and the Green Party candidate. Number 2, Kent Hare is a longtime MLA in that area for the Liberals, well known, and he spent more than a year here running. So you would think he's got his base ready to go. But number 3, and this is maybe the biggest factor, the Liberals have not elected anybody in this town since 1968, since the original bout of Trudeau-mania. So it strikes me that he's trying to break history here.
You reminded me that you were 2 years old then. That was Pat Mahoney. I remember that. He is trying to do it, and it could very well happen. It may even happen elsewhere in Calgary.
Let's pick a couple of ridings as well that we think are ridings to watch. What is your riding to watch?
I would pick Confederation because Matt Grant, who is Al Doer's son-in-law, former mayor of Calgary, right, who is a securities lawyer at 33 years old, very, very presentable young man. And he's worked every bit as hard as Kent Hare in that riding. It's quite remarkable. There are campaigns going on for the Liberals of a type we haven't seen in a very long time. And the Conservative candidate is Len Weber, a warhorse veteran of the Redford government. Remember, he was the one who called out Alison Redford on her behavior. And he's run a quiet, solid campaign and counting on that Conservative vote, but Matt Grant is appealing, so there is a chance there.
I remember meeting Matt Grant a year ago at Stampede. He was with the provincial Liberal leader, David Swan. That is David Swan's riding. It is Liberal territory just north of the Bow River. So it strikes me that there is an element of Liberal support here. Whether he can mobilize enough of it is the question. My riding to watch is up in the northeast, and that's the riding of Calgary Skyview, where you have Devinder Shorey, the Conservative MP there, a former a lawyer here in town. Perhaps not well known compared to the other Conservatives in this town because he doesn't have a cabinet position. He's running against Darshan Kang. Darshan is well known in that area as well. He's the former Liberal MLA. He's been running there very hard for almost a year. I think this is one that could potentially go Liberal. If it does, I think you're going to see Confederation and Centre also go.
Yeah, that would be something if that happened, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's pick a couple of wild cards here because we've got 2 more ridings left to go. What's your wild card?
I would pick Signal Hill, and this isn't just so much a wild card as a joker. That territory was held by Peter Lougheed when he first won in 1971. It's always been conservative, the general area. Ron Leipert, who is a skilled and seasoned politician, used to be a provincial minister, beat Rob Anders for the nomination. Maybe knocked off some of the organizational base on the right side, and maybe is weaker for that. But I just can't see how the other candidates would have much chance in that. Right, so it's a wild card, all right. If it falls, the whole province could tumble, which ain't going to happen.
Rob Anders used to win this easily despite all the opposition supposedly to him, so I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, my riding to watch, I guess my wild card is Calgary Forest Lawn. Deepak Oberoi has been an MP for the Conservatives in that general area since 1997. But that is an area which is very diverse. It extends almost down to the east end of downtown. It goes right out to the east edge of the city. It's economically and ethnically diverse. There is a potential, I suppose, if there's a wave that this could be a riding that's in play. All that being said, I still think Deepak Oberoi wins.
Yeah, I agree. And overall, notice that we're not talking about what happened on May 5th when the NDP shocked everybody and turned the city upside down. There's really not much sense of that kind of thing happening in this campaign at all, at least in this city and probably in this province too. And maybe it's partly because of a bounce away from the NDP because of all the economic uncertainty and so forth.
Well, if the Liberal candidate there, former police officer Cam Stewart, beats Deepak Oberoi, I guess as we say, we're going to be watching history being made. Don, thanks for joining us.
You bet.